Now, amid tensions in the Taiwanese Strait, the island is celebrating its National Day. Thousands have gathered in the capital for this occasion. President Tsai Ing-wen took the opportunity to acknowledge the brewing tensions in the region.
各位长官列队，他们是国军的一文尖兵，更是
said that an armed confrontation with China is absolutely not an option. She also reiterated her willingness to talk to Beijing. Her only condition is that Taipei's commitments towards sovereignty and freedom should not be compromised. Since U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's visit to Taiwan, China has ramped up its threats. Experts say it was a show of power for Washington, but for Taipei, it has meant more military drills, violation of its airspace, and a growing threat of invasion.
Thank you very much, Madam President. And now I'm honored to give the floor.
We're grateful for the delegation's visit under such.
Now, the tensions have forced the island to boost its mass production of missiles and naval vessels. The government is also said to be working on small mobile weapons. China, on the other hand, is in the middle of a full-scale modernization program of its military. This will mean more advanced and tactical weapons. So to counter its aggressor, Taiwan might have to look towards its Western ally, the United States. Now, for more on this, we're being joined by Rosdal Fangold from Taipei. Thank you so much for joining us, who's a regional analyst. Thank you so much for joining us on this. What do you make of these latest comments by Taiwanese President Tsai Ing-wen? Can we expect any sort of dialogue between the two?
That's really unlikely. The current policy of the Taiwan government is to not accept China's framework for what the relationship between Taiwan and China is. So there's no commonality in how they view the relationship. So it's understandable that China refuses to talk to Taiwan from a political perspective and primarily domestic politics in China. And it's understandable that the Taiwan government is not going to agree to China's preferred framework for bilateral ties or interactions, because the government was elected twice by the voters here in Taiwan saying we're not going to agree to that framework. So there really isn't any middle ground at the moment. And again, from a political perspective, we can understand that, but we do see that the tensions are increasing. The outlook, frankly, is for those tensions to continue to increase.
All right. Now, as I mentioned earlier, tensions have forced the island to boost its mass production of missiles and naval vessels. So how equipped do you think Taiwan is?
It's going to take a lot of time, effort, money, and commitment from the people and the government here in Taiwan to come close to having a sufficient capability to address the growing risk from China. China spends an enormous amount on its defense. The shortcomings that in the past people said would prevent a military action are quickly being addressed. For example, having an inferior Air Force capability or an inferior naval capability or lack of an ability for an amphibious landing on Taiwan. So the government here has increased the defense budget to their credit, and the U.S. is willing to do more, it seems, through weapons sales. But are they keeping up? The answer, frankly, is no. More needs to be done.
Right, absolutely. In fact, you mentioned the United States, and I was just going to come to that. How do you assess the role of the United States in this?
Yeah, it's so interesting because at times it seems like the Biden administration wants to do the right things, such as with weapons sales, with a willingness to engage more with Taiwan's defense officials on how to plan best for Taiwan's defense. But the pattern of President Biden saying he'll send troops and then the White House having to say that's not what he meant or policy hasn't changed, that's not productive either. And then unfortunately, there's also events that are out of Taiwan's hands, such as the war in Ukraine. That requires a lot of attention from U.S. defense officials. A lot of stocks of weapons or ammunition have been sent to Ukraine. It's a learning process, unfortunately, in the sense that if there was a war to break out here in the Taiwan Straits, how would the U.S. come to Taiwan's aid if stocks have been depleted so rapidly? That's not really not being addressed at the moment. Again, that'll take time as well.
All right, Mr. Feingold, thank you so much for joining us on this broadcast with your insights on this. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.